Evening. Well, what is the time? The time is 7:52, and I will call this public hearing and regular business meeting of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia, for Monday, April 26, 2021 to order. I do have just a couple of short announcements before we get started. I know we do have a lot of people here tonight for several of the zonings that are on the agenda. What I would, first of all, I think there was some confusion out on public media, and I just want to clarify, if you are here for the Summit Chase zoning, if you are here to make comments on the information that's out there on the back 9 of the golf course, that is not on our agenda tonight. The Summit Chase rezoning that is on our agenda is another 5-acre parcel that's attached to the development that was sold with the front 9. So that is what is on the agenda tonight. If you're here to make a comment on whatever the rumors and whatever's going on with the back 9, you're of course always welcome to make comments, but comments on that property will be held at the end of the meeting in public comments, where anyone can come up and discuss anything. I would also like to say that anything that is going on with the back 9 of the golf course is still owned privately by Summit Chase Country Club. It is a private property owner, and the city has no control over that at this point. But again, anyone is welcome to make comments at the very end of the meeting in our public comments section. We do have an overflow crowd, I believe. Maybe some people were diverted to the community room. What I would also ask is we will be following the agenda order of the hearings. I would ask that if you're in the council chambers for one of the first rezonings, if you wouldn't mind, if there's people that would rather be here or that are here for the first rezoning, which is the Meritage Townhomes on Highway 124, just to allow anyone here for that rezoning to be here in the room for it. I will be allowing a few minutes in between each agenda item. So if you're going back to the community room to wait to the agenda item that you're interested in, I'll give time for people to swap back and forth on the rooms. Was that clear? Okay. Just making sure I was clear enough on that. I'm not telling anybody you need to leave the room. I'm just asking that if you're, just come into the room when your zoning matter comes up. And if you are in the community room and your zoning matter is called, we will allow people to come into the room and make comments. So I don't want anybody that's in the community room to think that you won't be heard. With those announcements, now we'll go to the invocation by Ms. Kelly McAloon.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for everything you do for us, and we come to you in thanksgiving this evening to thank you for the many blessings that you give us each and every day. We ask that you bless the city council, give them guidance, direction, and wisdom so they can continue to lead the city in the positive direction that it's going. We ask that you continue to bless our police force, to keep them safe, to protect them as they protect the citizens of Snellville. We thank you, Lord, for everything you do, and ask that you continue to bless those less fortunate, those in need, and bless the business owners that are still struggling from COVID. And we thank you, Lord, in your name, amen.
Thank you, Kelly. And now if you'll stand for the pledge to the flag, led by Councilmember DeStang. Thank you all, and now we'll start with the ceremonial matter. We've got Proclamation 2021-07 for Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Therefore, I, Barbara Bender, Mayor of the City of Snellville, Georgia, where everybody is proud to be somebody, join with our City Council and the citizens of Snellville to hereby proclaim the day of April 30th, 2021 as the celebration of Arbor Day in the City of Snellville. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Dated this 26th day of April, 2021. And now we will have approval of the minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of the April 2nd specially called meeting and the April 12th, 2021 meetings.
There's a motion to approve the meetings. Is there, or the minutes? Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor and none opposed. We have no invited guests tonight and no committee or department reports, so now we'll have the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve tonight's agenda for April 26, 2021.
There's a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Dave was the loudest. We'll take his. There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor and none opposed. And now we'll start our public hearing section of the meeting. First, we have item A, second hearing, RZ 20-04, LUP 20-03, consideration and recommendation on applications by Meritage Homes of Georgia, the applicant, and Crawford J. F. Juhan Jr., property owner, and Edgen Finance LLC, the property owner, requesting to amend the Snellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan future land use map from office professional and low-density residential to medium-density residential. Official zoning map amendment from OP, Office Professional District, and BG, General Business District, to RTH, Single Family Residential Townhome District, and request for variance from the front-load garage setback requirement for a 101-unit townhome development on a 14.724 plus or minus acre site having a density of 6.859 units per acre, located at 2465 Scenic Highway South, Snellville, Georgia. Tax parcels 5006-002 and 5006-003. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, everyone else for being here. Just want to remind the council and the public that we've already had a public hearing for this case and have been tabled twice now, I believe, or this is the third reiteration of this site. And just to go over a few of the highlights, the unit count was reduced, I believe, from 101 to 90. The main stub street there used to open up to basically T and have an opening to the adjoining residences to the rear. That's been changed. They have also widened the streets from 24 to 26 feet, added 35 guest spots, and I believe there's 70 feet from the structure to the rear property line that will be wooded and planted where need be to buffer against the adjacent property owners. That's really the only updates I have. I wanted to make sure that we reference this site plan and the date of the last revision in the ordinance as we adopted to make sure we get the plan, if that's what everybody sees fit, or in the denial one as well. And we also had the applicant provide us with some color palettes. I know it's a little hard to see on here with the glare, but more muted natural colors, and then a little more getting away from the super white garage doors as well, as I remember that was a concern to kind of draw attention away from the garage doors. So that's the updates regarding the project. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Jason, what is the date of that site plan that we have to do to make sure we have it right?
4/19/21. Yeah. I'll leave that up here for observation.
Are there any questions of the council for Mr. Thompson?
Mr. Thompson, could you just, for any public that may be here tonight, explain what the differences are between the original site plan and the site plan here as far as reduction of number of properties? And
Yeah, yes, sir. It was originally 101 units. It's been reduced to 90. There was an originally basically a 40-foot structured a property line setback that's been increased 30 feet to 70 feet. And I was also saying the main drive at one point, the original plan called for basically for that to open and T at with no buildings to obstruct any kind of headlights or any kind of vehicle noise to the adjoining property owners. And throughout the process, the applicant has also agreed to minimize the impact of the garage doors and an enclosure or fence around the property to keep any cross-property traffic as well.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jason, would you also speak to the landscaping that will be required along Highway 124?
Yeah, anytime you have residential abutting a major road, I believe it's any road with 80, basically 80-foot or 40-foot right-of-way on both sides. The front there that you see the separation between the rear structure and the back of those homes, you're basically required to put a no access easement there, so you cannot access, in this case, Highway 124 from any part of the property except the main drive. And part of the no access ordinance and the tree ordinance is to also buffer with trees, street trees, evergreens, shrubs, so that no one can see the back of those homes. And furthermore, I believe those are considered high visibility lots, so anything that's directly adjacent has to have increased architectural standards on those as well. So most of those, after a couple of years of growth, won't be visible from the highway.
Any other questions for Mr. Thompson? And is the applicant here tonight?
I believe he is.
Did you want to say anything, Mr. Peavy? Oh, I'm sorry, you can't. We've already had our public hearing on this with public comment on February 22nd, so we will not be having additional public comment tonight. So I will turn it over to the council to make a motion.
Motion to deny LUP 2021-05 with reference to ordinance, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Motion to deny LUP 20-03 with reference to 2021-05, the ordinance referenced in the package.
There's a motion to deny. Is there a second? There's a motion to deny without a second, so that motion dies. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the, wasn't ready for this, RZ-04 LUP 020-03.
Excuse me, Mr. Warner, I should have
Yes.
made that more clear. We've got to do the LUP
Oh, I'm
20-03 first.
I know better. I apologize. Make a motion that we approve LUP 20-03 and the associated ordinance in the agenda packet.
Okay, there's a motion to approve LUP 20-03. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the LUP. And for those of you in the audience, the LUP is a land use plan that the city has, and this is a motion to amend that land use plan. So we have a motion and a second to amend the land use plan. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor. Any opposed? 1 opposed. The motion carries. Next, we'll entertain a motion on RZ 20-04, which is the actual rezoning of the property. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, make the motion that we approve RZ 20-04 and the associated ordinance with the additional language to tie it to the site plan revision dated 4/19/2021.
Okay, there's a motion to approve RZ 20-04. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any council members wish to make a comment?
Originally, this site plan as proposed absolutely met none of the criteria that I am looking for in developments within the city of Snellville currently. It was just a sea of garage doors, and the density was substantial. The applicant has been extremely willing to take the comments of both mayor and council and the public at our public hearing into account and to adjust their plan accordingly. And I look forward to them being a good steward of the property and bringing this community to the city of Snellville.
Any other council members like to make a comment?
Well, I'll say I kind of struggled with this one originally because of the density. But in thinking about it a lot, I think the residential that backs up to this would be more inclined to like more residential backing up to them than a shopping center, a commercial strip center where they would back up to trucks delivering to stores, to dumpsters, that type of thing. So with the revised site plan, a greater buffer in the rear, all the landscaping that's going to be done, plus the improved garage door look. I can vote for this at this point.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I cannot vote for this. The townhome development is not appropriate for the character of the area. I have heard so many comments from my neighbors and understand their concerns about the density, as well as understanding their concerns that this will become yet another rental community that will not be able to sustain, and that is absolutely what we do not want to see on the south side of our city. I cannot support it.
Thank you. Anyone else? With that, then I will call for the vote. All in favor of approving RZ 20-04, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor. Any opposed? 1 opposed. Now, I will give everybody just a minute. If there's, the next item on the agenda is CIC 21-01. It's for Concept Engineering Services and Rejoice in the Word Church International Ministry. So if anyone specifically wants to hear this agenda item, if you want to come into the council chambers. Now, just to let everyone know, when we're doing these hearings, I didn't explain this on the first one because we'd already had the public hearing. We will give 15 minutes per side on this consideration, on this application. We will call for the, Mr. Thompson will give a summary of what we're looking at. The applicant will be able to state their case, and then I will call for public comment. We have for anyone supporting the project first, and then we'll do opposition. Each side in support or opposition will have 15 minutes. That includes the applicant's time. So just if there's several people here that want to speak, everybody's welcome, but just be cognizant of the 15-minute time limit. You may want to have a spokesperson rather than everyone coming up. Mr. Thompson.
Ready to go? Hold on.
I'm sorry, it's been a interesting night tonight. Have item B, second reading, CIC 21-01, consideration and recommendation on application by Concept Engineering Services, the applicant, and Rejoice in the Word Church International Ministry, Inc., property owner, requesting a change in conditions from RZ 07-01, approved on February 26, 2007, to allow 95 on-site parking spaces to be constructed between the street and 8,000 square feet proposed religious assembly building on a 5.47 plus or minor acre site, zone CI Civic Institutional District, located at 3079 Lenore Church Road, Snellville, Georgia, and that's tax parcel 5,029,090. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Once again, this is a change in conditions from a recent, well, not real recent, zoning case that goes back to 2/26/2007, when the parcel was originally zoned for Civic Institutional for a place of worship with the attached site plan. Not only did the regulations call for the building to front the street, but the site plan, what we're here for, shows and is vested through the legislative act of the rezoning and the land use plan as basically law that it represent what's shown when it's rezoned, so that nothing changes between then and the time that it's actually developed. So as such, the site plan becomes law and where it needs to go. So the applicant, Rejoice in the Word Church International, who's represented by Concept Engineering Services for the church that's located at 3079 Lenore Church Road, near the intersection of Lenore Church and Springdale, is requesting that because of topography issues, mainly that most of the dirt is in the rear of the property, and to construct the pad in the front would require a lot of cut from the rear and maybe some fill from other areas to build the pad on the front, and pretty large retaining walls. I'll let their applicant speak about that a little bit. They've requested that instead they move the building to the rear as shown. Some similarities between the plan is that the detention pond stays in the same place. The low point is there regardless of what they do. That's where the water will drain. You'll see that there'll be a drive that basically, if you follow the topo lines, will drop down as you approach the corner to where the detention pond drains, and then there'll be somewhat of an incline to a small grade to the building pad in the corner. I know there were some concerns previously about the precedence, as well as the dumpster pad location, and feel like the dumpster pad is a no-brainer to be moved, probably somewhere beside the building or somewhere that's accessible to any kind of driver, but it's a little further away from the road. We recommend approval. We reached out to the city engineer as well, and what we found out, it's been a long process to get this done, is that we've previously approved these plans for site development, but we weren't able to execute the documents because we found the condition of zoning at that time. We were checking some old files. So the city engineer opined and said that the stormwater would remain unaffected, that this actually uses the property kind of as it's built now to provide less disturbance, and they would have to still verify that all the stormwater is done in compliance with the codes at the time of permitting. So with those things in mind, we recommend approval and are happy to answer any questions at this time.
Are there any questions of the city council for Mr. Thompson?
Mr. Thompson,
Yes,
on
sir.
the site plan that you have up showing, it shows that the religious assembly, the building, is exactly 40 feet from the property line. Does that mean that is a requirement of our code, correct?
The side property line or the rear?
Well, it's showing coming off a corner, so it's,
Here, or-
yeah. The one that's coming off the southwest corner, if you're looking north, south, east, west at the drawing,
Right
right
here?
there, yep.
Yeah, there must be a 40-foot setback.
Okay, and the sidewalk intrudes into that, is that an issue?
Here?
Correct. Well, there, it
Like
shows,
right here?
yeah.
Typically, sidewalks, sometimes parking, this is a building setback. We don't include paving
Okay.
surfaces in those setbacks.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Thompson?
What about the setback at the top? It shows it only being, well, roughly 20 feet, 15 feet to the sidewalk?
Here?
No, top of the building,
Here?
right there, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, we don't, that's, I think, is this what you're referring to? That's the building setback, that dashed line. So they're outside of it.
Okay.
Typically paved surfaces, we don't consider a structure if they're accessory to that extent. Now, if they were pushing the pavement all the way to the property line, you can see up here, they can get in. Typically, those are building setbacks and not development setbacks. But what basically, or what does manage those setbacks are the width of the landscape strips. That's kind of your no development zone and your planting zones on the side. And I believe there are 5 on these sides, but they're much larger on this development. 5 on the interior and 10 to 15 in the front. And then, you know, as you can see on the bottom half, I guess I should have mentioned that, is that what you see, that dotted line, those are stream buffers. And basically only half of the 4.5 acre property is buildable, and that's what you see. It's on the top end. The rest of that is floodplains, or 5.46 is floodplain and stream buffer. And you can see that top little dotted line that's adjacent to the southern part of the parking lot. That's the extent of that buffer due to that bend in that stream. So they have to stay out of that by Georgia law and city law as well.
Any other questions for Mr. Thompson? Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is the applicant here? If you'd like to come forward. You'll need to provide your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 15 minutes total to allow for support of the project.
Okay, I am Emmanuel Aboa, 2217 Vernon Oaks Way, Dunwoody, and I'm here on behalf of Concept Engineering Services, the company that designed the project. This was the best use of the situation that we had because of the proximity to the stream. When we started, we found out that there was water that affected where the building was sitting in front of the building, so we had to redesign and come up with the best use of the available space. And Jason has done a good job of explaining it, how it works, and we'll take any questions that you might have.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have one, sir. Originally when this was zoned in 2007, the purpose for having the building towards the street was, if you notice on the site plan, the adjacent property is residential, which on the drawing up there would be to the direct west, if you're looking north, south, east, west, just by the way that the drawing's set. And we did that to make sure the adjacent homeowners were impacted as little as possible by having and I know typically churches don't have a extremely high use as far as day in, day out, nights, that sort of stuff, but we're trying to minimize the impact on those adjacent homeowners. I'm kind of concerned about having this pushed all the way up against those residential property owners.
Hey, good evening, Chair. Good evening, Council. Darrell Johnson, Douglasville, Georgia. I don't know if I can put this on here, but I would want you to see this because I want you to see the grading plan. So I think what happened.
We do have a copy of the grading plan in our packet.
Okay. So we'll go through that. Okay, yeah, please. So initially what it seems like the Canaan Church, what happened was they didn't really factor in any topo when they laid out the church itself. So you got a building that's very close to the road, and as soon as you come in off of the road, you got a 14-foot drop into the property. So what we try to do is take advantage of the topography to slope a drive into the site and take advantage of the actual ground in the back of the site. If we got the grading plan, do you have it, Porter? So the problem was, if we push this building to the front, that means that we're filling 14 foot of dirt to make it level, right? The problem with that from engineering practice is the foundation can crack, call it settling and all kind of stuff like that. So what we wanted to do is follow the natural topography of the land. And so it was naturally draining towards this ravine that's on our site, that's encumbering the whole site. And so we wanted to take advantage of that. We'd rather that sheet flow across our parking lot versus in the back. So we knew in the back, we held a FFE of 944, and in the back, we're pretty close to grade in that area. So that's why we kept it there. I know what the rules are, but it just seems like the building didn't want to be in that area. What we tried to do also with the grading was, when we pushed it to the back, we tried to make sure that we kept that natural buffer from the residential that you just spoke of, because we know we don't want to interrupt that area. As far as drainage, I think we're accounting for all of it. You know, it's all sheet flowing to the middle of the site. It seems like we're doing the same thing. We kind of got our detention pond in the area where it handles all of that flow, and then it discharges from the detention pond into the area of the site.
Would you or your client be amenable to a berm outside of the undisturbed buffer area, maybe 6 foot along that?
North edge?
Yeah, on the edge. If you look at the map view, it would be on the west side of the map. I don't see the actual scale on here, but that would just provide a little more buffer for the adjacent residential property owners.
So what's happening is,
Yeah, it'd be,
I think you're talking about in this area?
yeah,
In here?
just along that property line,
So
just outside of that corner of the building.
I don't see why we wouldn't. It would be a very good idea. I think what's got us kind of pinched is we got a retaining wall that's.
Well, if
Right.
you have a retaining wall, you're definitely not going to need a berm. I'm just concerned about the property as it comes down.
Well-
And it's really only one lot, so you're probably talking about 60 to 70 feet. So from that retaining wall down towards the detention pond, just a little bit of a berm there that could be planted to give a little more separation.
Absolutely. We can do that. But I thought you wanted to keep it natural, as much
Well,
as natural as possible. And I think that kind of gets in, now we start clearing trees.
Well-
We were trying to end it there so we could leave that stand of trees along the side.
Having driven by, I'm just concerned that there's not that much of a buffer there.
Got it. Got it. I mean, and if it's
Because a
not-
lot of it's been cleared, and it's really hard to tell without, I can't really tell from the street where, and I didn't have my mud boots on
Okay.
or my drone, so
Yeah.
I don't have a drone. That's why I didn't have it.
You could absolutely make it a condition, we'll do it.
Well, I don't want to make a condition if it's undoable, and you're more familiar with the property than I am, so.
Yeah. I, in my opinion, I think that the trees in that area, if you want to speak to it.
Let's just basically put in a generic condition that we'll use some kind of buffering system, whether it be additional plantings, berm, a fence that best,
Suits the site conditions?
Yes, please, because
Okay.
and without, looking exactly at it, I mean, I
Right.
think there's room to do that. And that's above them too, isn't it?
It is, it's above. That
Okay.
wall, we're actually dropping down. So,
Right.
I mean, it's a really difficult site.
Okay, well, I'll just make sure that the Director of Planning and Development can make that call. I just always am concerned because our buffering requirements between a church and residential are not near the same as they are between commercial and residential or other associated uses. So I just want to make sure the residents that are up against it are protected. They may come to church.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you. Makes sense.
that's all. Thank you.
All right.
Any other council members with questions for the applicant?
Yes, I have a question about the entry drive.
Yes.
You said there's a 14-foot drop there, and it looks to me like having that sharp turn right in the drop is an accident waiting to happen.
So we thought about this one quite a bit.
And hopefully you don't negative camber it.
No. And when we thought about it is that this drive was originally permitted before, right? And we held that driveway as is. And so what's happening as you're driving down, so I'm trying to make sure I describe it properly. If I drive straight down 14 feet, it's gonna be really steep. But if I extend the driveway and just lengthen it a bit, the slope won't be as bad. And so if you got the grading plan, you could see how the slope is extended, right? That distance, that length of height is extended. That's why we have to wrap that drive. If we come straight down, then we'll have a ski board type of ramp.
Right, but even going, you have to make up the 14 feet.
Exactly.
So now you're going like this.
Yes, so right now, we're making it up, and I wish I had a smaller version of the grading plan. Right now, we're making it up, and we're making it up along the length of the drive and causing that slope to wrap with us around the
Okay.
drive. And so it's all on the grading plan, but then we get to a point where it all flattens, right? We make it comfortable, and it's not gonna be dangerous when you come into the site. So we're trying to make sure we account for that. But yeah, that was a concern.
Just don't make it off camber.
Yeah.
And another question I have for you is, part of the reason that we have the requirement for the building to be up front is so that you don't drive by and see your parking lots.
Yes, understood.
What about doing some buffering in the front with some planting so that it breaks up the view of just all parking?
So
I can speak to that. The
Yeah,
ordinance
go ahead.
actually requires that.
Okay.
The ordinance requires in that right of way, adjacent to the parking lot, anything on a road like that with that size right of way requires 3 foot at time of planting hedges and then your street trees. So there's got to be an evergreen, basically wall at the time of planting, 3 feet, the whole width of the right of way, and then it'll drop down. So you probably won't be able to see much at all of that parking lot, especially with some time, right? After it's built, maybe a little, but.
Or a lot of fertilizer. Or a lot of fertilizer.
Right. I think that's a requirement of the code.
Okay.
For that buffer on any lot, like on a major
Right.
corridor like that.
Yeah.
if I could add to that too, I see how the dumpster is located in this area. I mean, it's towards the front, but it's still outside of that vision, that horizontal sight distance off the road. If we cover that with a stand of trees, then it may not be seen. And so it's just, it seems like the perfect spot for the dumpster itself right now.
Awful far from the main building, so you're gonna have to carry all your trash.
Yeah, the grading is kind of dictating so much of this layout. And again, I wish I could show it to you guys. I think you got it on your screen, but I could kind of walk through it if I had it on the screen.
Any other questions of council for the applicant? Oh. Okay, thank you.
Okay, they have 13 minutes and 58 seconds remaining. Questions don't count.
Okay, now I will open up the floor to public comment on this case only. If you are in support of this project, you may come forward. We have 13 minutes left for anyone in support of this project. Okay, seeing none, if there's anyone here in opposition to this project, you may come forward. Seeing none, then I will close the public comment section of this rezoning hearing, or this changing condition hearing, and ask for a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make motion to approve ordinance 2021-09 with the addition of a condition number 6, buffer between structure and adjacent residential property will be maximized at the direction of the Director of Planning and Development.
Okay, there's a motion to add one condition. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll take Christie. You seem like you were a little quicker on that second. So we have a motion and a second to approve. There was one buffer, one condition added to the conditions that were previously listed. Is the applicant okay with that condition? Okay, let the record show that the applicant was fine with this additional condition. So we have a motion to approve and a second. Any comments from council?
Well, I hope I can say for all of us, welcome to the neighborhood.
All right, with that, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor. Any opposed? And none opposed. Thank you all.
You can clap.
Now I'll allow just a couple of minutes. We have council chambers are clearing out fast.
It's going to be a great congregation.
So we do have some available chairs now in the council chambers. If there's anyone in the community room or still out in the hallway that would like to come in and sit down.
See that elevation and the drive won't be any problem if you're just on time.
Okay, the shuffling seems to have stopped, so we're going to move along. We have, huh? A few people coming. Okay, then we'll wait just a minute. Okay, next we have item C, second reading, RZ 21-02, LUP 21-02, consideration and action on applications by Patrick Malloy Companies applicant and Summit Chase Country Club, Inc. property owner requesting 1, to amend the Snellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan future land use map from park recreation to low-density residential. 2, to amend the official zoning map from RS30 Single Family Residential District to RO Residential for Older Persons District. And 3, variances from the RO district regulations and general architectural and small building standards for 21 lot single family detached residential lots on a 5.58 plus or minus acre site and located at the intersection of Rosebud Road and Temple Johnson Road, Snellville, Georgia. Tax parcel 5094327. The subject property is to be incorporated into the adjoining 75.29 acre site, zoned RO, Residential for Older Persons District, for a combined 274 lot age-restricted single-family detached residential community.
Thank you, Mayor. We have another case before you, as you just opined. We have RZ 21-02 and Land Use Plan 21-02 at the address 3491 Rosebud Road, Snellville, Georgia, currently known as some tennis courts, an access drive, and I believe a small storage facility. As you stated, this is a leftover from an approval that we made almost, I think, a little over a year ago, maybe a little longer, on the adjoining property to the north and then across the street to the east. At that time, there was not clear title on this property, the 5.58 acre property. So we're going to rezone that, or request to rezone, the applicant is, requesting the future land use map change to low-density residential. It was some single-family residential and open space. Hold on, excuse me. Yeah, it was Parks and Rec. It's being changed to low-density residential in the future land use plan. And then the requested zoning is going from RS 30, which is our old RS 180, which is our bigger lots, and then that will be changed to residential housing for older persons. And some of the complications as far as the thought logic behind this is that between the time that this was approved, the title was cleared, and the application was submitted and then tabled from different various things, some relating to the lack of quorum, we passed a new UDO as well. So in this zoning section, the RO, it was considerably changed as far as the targeted uses and building types. So what we tried to provide as far as the staff analysis was closer, pretty much mirrors as far as land use and zoning on the total plan to this 21, where we had some complications where the request of the variances and the conditions now that were changed from the original proposal. So what we ended up with is a list of, I believe, 17 new conditions and 4 variances, all to do the same thing that was already approved there: single family, detached, single lot development on private streets that will, as you can see on your map, adjoin there where the existing cul-de-sac is, and then to bring that into the development to be part of the much larger development. So long story short, we recommend approval just to bring that last piece in, and we've got the 17 new conditions to do it, and the variances from the new UDO regarding separation and different things to make it match up to the old RHOP district. So we believe that we've caught them all. The current development to the north has been permitted but has not started construction.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Are there any questions of council for Mr. Thompson? I see none. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is the applicant here? Mr. Gaskin, if you'd like to come up and present the application.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is John Gaskin. I'm Vice President, Patrick Malloy Communities. I would like to reaffirm that we are in no way associated with the Back 9 project. I only was made aware of that about a month and a half ago. So the two properties are actually physically separated by property. My understanding is that's more primary housing. We're age restricted. So my point is, if there's someone here in opposition, there's no collusion. We're not, well, these projects will never be joined, and we've never, there's not any way an association between the two communities. We work Jason's been great to work with on this property. The pandemic caused some delays, quite honestly, and because the funding comes from New York City for these big projects. We're talking $75, $80 million. They went into a panic mode, so the whole project was delayed somewhat, including this 5 acres, because we had initially brought the 5 acres in and shown it when we had zoned the property that was approved. We had always ghosted it on the site plan and said we'll have to bring it in later because of these title issues. So you're aware of all that. So in the meantime, the RO zoning came out. And quite honestly, I think that the changes that the RO zoning caused us to have to do, as opposed to the RHOP 55, I think actually improved the project in terms of its relationship to the community. And what I mean by that in particular is the RO requires 20% open space. So we had originally sold 22 lots on this project from the start. So I took 1 lot out, and Ms. Cochran, who lives across to the west of this project, made me aware of the wildlife and importance of this open space. So what I did was consolidate all the open space against her property. And where the development is now is where the tennis courts are, the parking lot, and there's a shelter of some description and some golf cart paths. So, and also it actually helped us kind of comply with the land use plan, which originally called for this to be open space. Now, the open space component or value kind of went away when this was separated from the golf course. So it really had no true open space on its own. But now with a 20% open space, there, particularly there at the intersection and in an area that does have significant wildlife in it, my understanding, we're able to, one, get our density, two, incorporate it into our project under the same kind of guidelines, same architectural standards, I mean, the same HOA. When you drive through the project, you won't know although it's different zoning category, hopefully if this is approved, you won't know the difference between this 5 acres and the 84 acres or the 80 acres that was previously approved. And I had heard tonight in the work session, maybe you wanted to address and put some additional restrictions on the open space. We're certainly amenable to that. Typically, the way, these have very strong HOA, so all that green area that you see on the adjoining property as well as what's shown here in green, the homeowners association owns that. We are the declarant for until we build it out, so we have total control. And at the sale of the last house, we will turn this open space and the homeowners association over to the homeowners. So if there's a concern that they may want to come back later and add lots or something like that, of course, it is part of the zoning, so that'd be very difficult. But if you wanted to add enhancement or somehow make sure that it was permanently restricted for some sort of natural or conservation use, we're certainly amenable to that. We're certainly amenable to work with Ms. Cochran again. She seems very knowledgeable with this open space in terms of enhancing it, whatever it takes for the wildlife. I wasn't aware that when we bought the property that wildlife was there, but I've been educated subsequently and certainly like to protect anything. As a developer, I'm never in this position, so I'm enjoying enjoying the fact that we're able to somehow offer. I'm usually the one who's running the Armadillo's off. So I think that's all that we have. We're totally in agreement with all the conditions that Jason has suggested. We actually submitted architectural plans. So if the zoning is approved, you're actually approving the architectural plans that will be on this site. And there's footprints, architectural styles, coloring, and everything. So it's the complete package. So I'm available to answer any questions, anything that pertaining to densities, technical issues, timing, intent, price points, anything like that. I'm available.
Mr. Gasson,
Yes.
if you could just give your address for the record. I think I neglected to ask for that.
Yes, I'm sorry. I should have. The address is 4770 South Atlanta Road, Suite 100, Atlanta 30339.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Warner, you had a question?
Well, just to save time tonight, just wanted to know if we were to add an additional condition of 18, that 1.1 acres as shown on the site plan will remain natural as existing with the exception of additional plantings required by ordinances of the city of Snellville as administered by the Director of Planning and Development, which takes care of that open space. Is that okay with both of y'all? Good. Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
Any other council members have a question for Mr. Gaskin? No. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
9 minutes and 56 seconds remaining.
Thank you. Now I will open the floor to public comment. If anyone here would like to speak in support of the project, please step forward and provide your name and address for the record. Just giving a little bit of extra time just in case somebody's in the community room and wants to come out. Okay, seeing none, then I will open the floor. Anyone in opposition to this rezoning, please step forward. Okay, seeing no public comment on this issue, then I will turn it to council to make a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, I got to close the public hearing first. So I'm closing the public hearing after seeing no one stepping forward. And now I will ask the council for a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve LUP 21-02 and its associated ordinances. Not on an LUP.
Ah, you got me on that one. Very good, Todd. Okay, so there's a motion to approve LUP 21-02. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comment by council?
Do we need to specifically mention the condition he added, or is that been taken care
It
of?
goes under RZ's and
That's on the rezoning. We're on the LUP.
planning commission.
I know, I did the same thing. Okay, so now we have a motion and a second to approve the LUP 21-02. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor and none opposed. And now we will have a motion for the actual rezoning.
Madam Mayor, make a motion that we approve RZ 21-02 with the and its associated ordinances with the addition of condition number 18, which is 1.1 acre as shown on the site plan, will remain as natural space, as natural as existing with the exception of the additional plantings required by the ordinances of the City of Snellville as administered by the Director of Planning and Development. That is my motion.
There's a motion to approve RZ 21-02 with an additional condition. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and an additional condition was added along with the other conditions, and just want to ask the applicant if you are okay with that. The applicant indicates that he is fine with the conditions as stated. Any comments by council?
I've had a lot of input from neighbors asking about this development for a long time because we approved it quite a while ago. And I think some of the issues were cleared up tonight by the applicant. I look forward to seeing dirt turning. Get to work.
Any other comments by council? With that, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor, so none opposed. The rezoning passes. Thank you, sir. Now we have item D, second reading, RZ 21-03, LUP 21-03, consideration and action on applications by Roger Fisher, applicant, and Oak Road LLC property owner, requesting 1, to amend the Snellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan future land use map from office professional to medium-density residential. 2, to amend the official zoning map from OP Office Professional District to RS5 Single Family Residential District. And 3, variance from the small building standards and required garage setback from the front elevation for a 5-lot single-family detached residential development on a 1.17 plus or minus acre site located at 1736 Oak Road, Snellville, Georgia, and that's tax parcel 5024-075.
Thank you, Mayor. Before us again, we've got...
Just a second, Mr. Thompson. I'll give just a few more, another minute or so if anybody's in the community room and wants to be in the council chambers for this. And also, again, just like the other rezonings, we'll allow 15 minutes for the applicant to state his case, and then also for anyone in support of the project to speak. And then we'll allow 15 minutes for opposition. So if you're here for either one of those sides, if there's a lot of people, if you would just be cognizant of that 15-minute time limit and maybe have a spokesperson or however you want to handle that.
15 minutes total, it's not
Total.
15 minutes each person, it's total for the whole site.
Yes, total for the whole side. Okay, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Once again, this is LUP, case number 21-03, RZ 21-03. This is a request for the future land use map amendment from office professional to medium-density residential, and a request for the corresponding zoning change from OP, Office Professional District, to RS5, which is a single-family detached residential district that's associated with a medium use land use that ranges in density to 8 units per acre. The property owner is Oak Road LLC, and they have an applicant who believe is the prospective home builder here, Roger Fisher, representing himself and his partner, Fisher Allen Group LLC, out of Noonan, Georgia. Like you said, this project is located on Oak Road. It's between the Jehovah's Witnesses religious facility and then Dr. Kim's now Emory Medical Family, Snellville Medical. It's adjoined by a neighborhood, as you can see to the north, and it abuts directly 1, 2, 3 residential properties. As far as the land use plan amendment analysis, also just to regard for reference 1.17 acre property. We looked to the 2040 comprehensive plan. There were several key implementation strategies for this character area, which is known as the Brookwood character area. It regards to different types of housing, home ownership, promote Snellville, and encourage construction of housing types that appeal to young families. 5 different housing subgroups. It's also supported in the UDO, or Unified Development Ordinance regulations for this zoning district. This is a new district that was created out of need from past subdivision types. Just to go on, it also requires the building elevations that they've provided are here. This is where the this is just a sample. I believe we sent out a few more to show any variation should you wish to approve, but it also leads us to our variance request. The new UDO basically has required a 10-foot offset from the main garage side of the house to make sure that the emphasis on the home is on the home and not necessarily the garage doors. What you see here is not typical in most of your building types. It seems to be make the garage more prominent with garages that are nicer, even has its own roof system, and then the very angled garage roof. I guess that would provide for an additional bedroom or bonus room. Because this was just adopted back in November, we recommended denial of this variance. Not necessarily because it doesn't work with this application, but that as a general standard, we just adopt that standard, so we wanted to stand behind it. The second variance also involves the garage door. The garage door cannot be more than 50% of the front elevation. This one is close, and I believe it's only 52%, so they're asking for a small 1-foot variance, which is one foot over 20 feet. 21 foot out of 40 would be the garage, and given that small variance, we recommend approval for that. If the other variance is recommended for approval by council or for denial, doesn't matter. But overall, we've recommended, based on the comprehensive plan and the UDO as the founding documents, as well as approval of the LUP, approval of the rezoning, approval of the variance for the 1 foot extra in the garage face, but denial of it being the leading edge of the home. We've attached 7 conditions, 4 that are typical of any development, and then 1 just basing it on the site plan and the elevations that we've received from the application. Be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Are there any questions of council for Mr. Thompson? Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is the applicant here? If you want to come forward and present your case, if you would, please provide your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Roger Fisher. I'm with Fisher Allen Group. We're representing Oak Road LLC on this project on Oak Road, 1736 Oak Road. We would love to build 5 unique homes on this site. Hopefully you'll consider this. We think it's a great site. It's contiguous to other residential. It fits well with what we've got designed, I think, for the area. And we want to bring a really good product to this area. I've got a few, we sent some additional information and elevations. I've got a couple of things I'd like to show you, some of our work and our attention to detail. We build in mostly historic areas, and the elevations, especially the garage, I'd like to talk to you about why we think the garage should be out in front just slightly, or even with the house, instead of the 10-foot setback. We've got, first of all, I wanted to show you a very unique, one of it only of its kind in the metro area. It's a farmhouse townhome concept. There's not too many of these around. And we want to take some of these elements. If you look at the attention to detail, bricks, hardy plank combination, metal roof, brackets, we want to incorporate all of this into the homes that we want to build, this farmhouse style home concept on this lot. So you can tell we've thought through this. There's a lot of attention to detail. And one of the biggest things that can disrupt the flow of the interior is pushing the garage back. This is a beautiful home. We wanted one of the other homes, other than what we provided into your package, is a very traditional modern farmhouse. It's got, I know that this being pushed back, if you can imagine this peak, which is very prevalent with farmhouse, if you take and push this 10-foot back, it all gets lost back into the roof system, and then all you've got is an unbalanced side. It disrupts the flow of the interior. So our goal is to bring the best product to Snellville and to our potential homeowners that would be buying this. And I'm not saying that this doesn't work for every situation. These are narrow lot line. There's farm homes. This all goes with it. You can hardly find any floor plans of this nature where it's pushed back into the house, because it does disrupt the flow of the interior, as well as the prominent brackets, the great detailing, the roof line. And you can see how we've got rain roofs over, architectural lighting and brackets. It all comes together. And I provided, I think, into your package, we can make some things look good, but it diminishes what we want to provide for you as the end result product. And I just think with something, this is the garage pushed back on one side, and you just don't get the prominent architectural details that you would with, and we're architects as well as builders, and we would be the builder and GC on the project. So we're kind of stepping into where we would be at that point, and we want to provide that best product. So that being said, as you can see, it's a inward facing. I wanted to also comment that these garage doors will not be facing a major street. They'll be internal, So you're not going to get the same look or feel of another larger subdivision that may be on a major thoroughfare, whatnot. So we just feel that it would be better to provide the best product, the best floor plan, and accommodate this site. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Are there any questions of council for Mr. Fisher?
Can I
Yes,
ask the obvious question here? The land use map says office professional. Why is it not viable to develop this as office professional?
It doesn't really lay out. It's sandwiched in between two sites that are more commercial retail or more office oriented. It really suits the residential much better. If you had a retail site, you're going to have a larger footprint potentially with more paving. To us, this is a better fit for the community. There'd be less runoff, water issues. It can be controlled a lot better than a large. If you have an office building, obviously you've got to maximize your parking. So we think this is more friendly to the area and the neighborhood instead of a large parking area, and it would all have to be going back, front to back, south to north. It doesn't really face wouldn't be a good retail office site in our opinion. We just feel that being contiguous to these other areas, there's other areas similar to this in the area. We felt like this was the best product.
Any other council members?
Yes, I have a question. With these 5 homes on this street that ends in a cul-de-sac, is there adequate room on this street for garbage trucks to turn around in that cul-de-sac, for fire trucks to turn around?
Yes, it's a normal 26-foot wide road with I think it's a 70-foot radius. So you should, normal traffic of a cul-de-sac it's not minimized. It is a standard width. A normal road, I heard others discuss going from a 24 to a 26. We've made it an average 26-foot wide thoroughfare.
Any other questions of council for Mr. Fisher? Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
10
Fisher.
minutes, 29 seconds remaining for rebuttal.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, as I stated, we will open up the floor for a public comment. Anyone that is in support of this project, please step forward and provide your name and address for the record. Do we know, is there anybody else in the community room? I just want to make sure I give time if anybody's. Okay, seeing no one in support of the project, is there anyone here in opposition? And remember, we've got 15-minute time limit for total discussion in opposition. If anyone would like to step forward, please provide your name and address for the record.
My name is Doug Harlow. My address is 1653 Stonegate Way, and my property is currently adjacent to the proposed development. So I have a direct interest in understanding what's going on with this piece of property. My direct concern is initially to the nature of the development that's being proposed. My concern is that it does not fit the area within that area that it's being proposed. It's just most of the area that is around it is all office professional. And so my concern is that it doesn't fit the area, and outside of other concerns with water runoff, potentially that's going to have to be addressed, and other access issues with it, this limited driveway. And I'm not sure I understand, you know, what's the purpose of this particular property, and I'm afraid that it would set a precedent if something like this were to be developed on this 1 acre tract of land where they have 5 homes. My property, which is just adjacent, is 1/3 of an acre, and so I've got 1 home on 1/3 of an acre, and they've got 5 homes on 1 acre. So it just kind of gives me some concern. So it is my particular interest that I think this needs to be denied. I don't think it's good use for the area. I prefer to see it be something like a dentist's office or something professional that fits in with the scope of the surrounding area. So, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Harlow. Anyone else who would like to speak in opposition?
Is that you behind those fosters?
I'm back.
Name and address for the record, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Jerry Oberholzer, 1855 Pennystone Way, Snellville, Georgia, 30078. Mayor and council, I come before you to oppose this rezoning, this land use change. Let's be honest, this is a prime example of spot zoning. The justifications that are provided by the planning department are, to be honest with you, are pretty outrageous. To justify this based on affordable housing, workforce housing, is okay, I will grant it to you. Probably you've written in your comp plan because you have to. But when the applicant comes in front of your planning commission and basically says this is $400,000 homes, that is not affordable housing. We don't even begin to talk about land use. Our land use for this, and I've been involved in it now 30 years in politics, is this was supposed to be a buffer. We basically had it developed that way. We have great development, low density between Oak Road and the residential. And now we come back with housing, which doesn't make any sense. First of all, you are now going to have to clear every tree on this property to get this development. Your requirements for detention, water quality, reduction of runoff, there's no place you're going to do this. Plus, you have a street there. You've created another curb entrance. And then we can even talk about school buses. Because basically, who's going to buy this? Folks with families. You're not going to be able to get a school bus down there. How are you going to get a garbage truck? It just doesn't make any sense from a standpoint of land use. So I ask you to consider that when you do this. I can't tell you right now, I feel like I'm Michael Corleone getting pulled back into things. I would rather be more at home, enjoying working in the backyard or talking to my grandkids than have to do this. So I do ask you to look at this from a consideration that this is not what we need in this area. There's plenty of other opportunities. So I ask you to deny the land use and deny the rezoning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Name and address for the record.
I'm Wayne Conover, 1544 Holly Lake Circle, Snellville, of course. I live in the adjoining neighborhood where Doug Harlow lives, and I do a lot of walking in the area, and I've walked by this parcel of land many, many times. This comes down to common sense. This is a very small parcel of land. You've got a church on one side, you've got office on the other side, you've got the Snell contracting yard all the way across. Does a housing development of 5 tiny homes on this very small parcel of land make any sense whatsoever? No. This is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard of. I have never appeared before you. I've never gone to one of these hearings. I know a couple of you from your campaigning, etc. I'm generally very satisfied with the way the governance has occurred in Snellville. I'm not a crank. I'm not a problem. But let me tell you, if you approve this, I will lose all my faith in common sense. I mean, come on. 5 homes jammed into a very small area where you probably could not. I don't think there's any way you can get a garbage truck or a school bus in and out of there. It just doesn't make sense. It's not, there's no common sense here whatsoever. So, here I am. I just wanted to let you know how I felt. I appreciate you listening, and I just want to ask you, please do the right thing here. This is crazy. This is not what Snellville wants. They don't want to be known for such inconsistent zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Dan Miller. I'm at 1594 Holly Lake Circle, same subdivision that backs into this proposal. I'm just here, I won't repeat all the points that have been made, but I'm here in opposition and ask you to deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name's Heather Gunn. I'm at 1673 Stone Gateway, immediately behind the property proposed here to be rezoned. And I do support my neighbors and everyone in the community who has opposition to it being rezoned to a residential area. Mostly because it doesn't fit in, and secondly, we all have a lot of runoff issues behind there already. There's a retention pond in our yard. We've had to have someone come in professionally to put in drains and such, and we still have major issues. And the same thing for my neighbors immediately beside me, Mr. Harlow being one of those. So I don't know how this could help in any way, and only really harm more than help that situation. But mostly the issue is just that it doesn't fit in. I mean, that's a property there that is all commercial, and who wants to look at an office building out your front yard? Or your kids, where are they going to play? You know, it's just, it really just doesn't make sense. So I'd ask that you would not approve the rezoning. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Come on up.
My name is Mary Beth Peters, and I am at 1643 Stone Gateway. So I'm one of the houses on the other side of it. I think everyone has brought up some really good points. I just wanted to get my name on the record that I really disagree with this. I think that it should maintain the zoning it currently has. And thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We still have 6 minutes for opposition. Not that you have to use it all, but you can if you want to.
Just one other point too. Also, I know on an adjacent community, Temler Trace, all of their trash cans are put out on Oak Road, which is another concern. So I imagine you're going to have 10 trash cans all sitting out there every week for garbage pickup, as opposed to having their individual homes. So maybe that might address, but I don't know if that's going to affect the look of too. Also, something else, you have to stop and have garbage trucks pick up 10 trash cans or so every week. So just another point of concern, just something I think I brought up.
Thank you, Mr. Harlow. Okay, last call. Okay, seeing no one else, I will close the public comment section, or the public hearing section. Mr. Fisher, you still had time left if you'd like to spend any time in rebuttal.
I just wanted to address a couple of the comments that were made that maybe we could clarify. With the 26-foot road and the 70-foot cul-de-sac, that's a normal standard size. I live on a similar type size road. Garbage trucks have no issues. There shouldn't be any garbage cans on Oak Road. They should be able to be set out on each individual unit. School bus should be able to, a normal school bus should be able to turn around in 70 foot. This, on paper, it may look small, but these are all dimensions for a 200 home subdivision. And we haven't diminished the size of the road, the cul-de-sac. I just wanted to let the residents know that this is in proportion to any subdivision.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the public hearing has closed. The applicant has spoken in rebuttal, so I will entertain a motion for the LUP.
Motion to deny LUP 21-03 in reference to Ordinance 2021-13.
There's a motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Does someone want to claim that?
Me.
Solange had to go last time.
So we have a motion and a second to deny the land use plan. Mr. Fisher, right now we have a motion to deny the land use plan application, and just want to make sure, give you the opportunity if you want to withdraw your application, or we'll continue on with the vote.
I would like to continue on. I mean, what is the difference as far as, is there any benefits of not knowing? Okay.
We can't advise you on
yes,
that.
We'll move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a motion to deny the land use plan 21-03 with a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor and none opposed. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take a vote on the RZ 21-03. Is there a motion?
Motion to deny RZ 21-03 in reference to Ordinance 2021-12.
There's a motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll go Christie because I went Solange on the last one. So we have a motion to deny on RZ 21-03, and I would like to make a comment on this real quick, and then if council wants to as well. You know, any time that we can move property from commercial to residential, most of the time that's a good thing. And honestly, before I really took a look at this project, I was a little surprised by the pushback from you know, moving something from commercial to residential. But when you step back and you really take a look at the area and what's on either side, and then especially when you look at what's across the street, this clearly is infill development that does not belong in this spot. You know, like I said, I'm all for residential and I don't mind infill development, but I see nothing but problems down the road, especially with lot 1 and 2, then coming to the city complaining about the trucks coming out of E.R. Snell's property on a daily basis. And sandwiching houses in between these two other established commercial businesses, I agree, is spot zoning and not something that we should do here. So I'll allow any other council members if you'd like to make a comment.
Houston has no zoning. So you can have a church next to an oil field, next to a refinery. And as far as I'm concerned, spot zoning is one removal from no zoning. And it just doesn't make sense to put residential in this area when it is surrounded by commercial. And if we're going to have spot zoning, why do we even have a land use plan? So I think this is absolutely the right decision.
Anyone else?
Within the last 2 years, as many of you know, we updated our comprehensive land use plan. Many of you actually showed up and gave us input on what you wanted in certain areas of the city. And as a city official, as being involved in zoning here in Snellville for almost 20 years, your input in that document is the foundation for the decisions we make. And yes, sometimes we do change it. Sometimes there are conditions that change out in the community, and we take those into account. But as we've heard here tonight from our public, the same people who put us in these seats and helped us develop that comprehensive land use plan, your input is what drives our decisions. So thank you for showing up, and I certainly will not be voting in support of this.
Okay, so we have a motion to deny and a second. I will call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor and none opposed, so the motion is denied. Okay, we'll take just a 5-minute recess. We will come back from our recess. We have one more item on our public hearing agenda. That is item E, second reading. ANX 21-01, RZ 21-04, LUP 21-04. Consideration and action on applications by Tomco 2 Systems Company applicant and Stephen and Walter Moon property owners requesting 1, to amend the Snellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan future land use map to industrial mixed use, and 2, to amend the official zoning map to LM Light Manufacturing District for a 2.7 plus or minus site located acre site located at 3320 Brushy Fork Road, Loganville, for expansion of the Tomco 2 system facility and development of an office building with associated parking. That's tax parcel 5099-003. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And to finish off for the night, we have an annexation in front of us. It's at the intersection of Brushy Forks and Rosebud Road, as we all know, is kind of the triangle property. It was, before this, it was owned by, it still is, I believe, by Stephen Moon. It was a residential structure. Originally, it had been vacated. Some years ago, we actually looked at this one about 10 years ago as a daycare facility. That was denied or withdrawn at some point. Now we've got the actual Tomco development that's located directly to the south, has an opportunity to buy a piece of property here that's a little over 2.5 acres, 2.7 acres, to expand and not necessarily expand their existing manufacturing operations, but a place to house their office and administrative practices, which are kind of outgrown their space in the existing development, which at one point I believe was a chicken farm. So it's been over 30 years that they've existed, and they've just really, because there's not really anywhere else to go, South Baptist to the south of Tomco isn't interested in selling, and then the piece next to them on the golf course has already been sold, so Tomco felt like this was something that they needed to move forward with for their office. This is totally not attached to the development, the existing development of Tomco, and will be treated as such during site plan approval and all of that if it gets that far. But because it's an annexation, there's certain legal paths that we have to follow as far as letting the county know, allowing them a review phase, and allowing them to object or consent to, or basically no comments. In this case, those legal guidelines were followed. The county did send a letter back. Basically, there was no objection that basically we be aware and have the applicant permit through the Gwinnett Transportation Department for a future traffic circle at the intersection of Rosebud and Brushy Forks, which is shown, the right-of-way line is shown there. During the complaining commission, we had some concerns about from one resident that to keep it more, that it was a residential area, and so the applicant has heard that and pushed the building closer to the road. From what I understand, that was to preserve the 3 curb cuts. In this case, I've also talked with the applicant's legal counsel. They don't have any issues pushing it into the front building line if that's what the council determines would be best. Their initial thought process, I believe, was to push the building to the rear where it slopes down, and then minimize the parking and drives with landscaping and shrubbery to minimize any commercial aspect. But they're not set either way. They don't mind which way it goes. Back to the original request, they requested that the zoning and the land use be light manufacturing, given that's what it is below or adjacent to them in their current development. We agree that the property should be rezoned and used as an office, but we would prefer, as the planning department, we recommend approval on a rezoning to office professional and a land use plan of office professional to truly show the intent of the site plan. It allows only office professional uses, which are probably more compatible with the adjacent residential than a light manufacturing would be. And we feel that it's more harmonious and it's better suitable for, they can just move their offices up there and keep the manufacturing where it is now, which is screened and away from most residential. So those were our comments and our suggestions. So basically approve the annexation, deny the request for the annexation to LM or the land use plan. Instead, change that to office professional, and the same in regards to the zoning, OP. We have a few conditions specific to the site that we've provided to you, and I believe there's supposed to be interparcel access. This time we restricted that to a pedestrian sidewalk with 10 feet width, only to accommodate small carts and golf carts, so that the commercial traffic, and the reason for that is so that the commercial manufacturing traffic wasn't filtering through the top lot, and that there was a distinct boundary between the two to provide, again, a buffer to the residents that are close to that. We've provided that here. There's an ordinance for approval and denial. The approval ordinance has those conditions, and as far as procedure goes, annexation, land use plan, rezoning, we can't get to the rezoning without the two beforehand. So I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Can you clarify, Mr. Thompson, it's the land use plan application is to change it to light manufacturing?
They applied for that. We
And
recommend that it stay office professional.
So
if
that would
we
need
bring
to
it
be,
in.
so that would mean we'd need to deny the land use plan.
I believe the ordinances reflect our proposal, do they not, Chuck?
Okay.
Can you check them? Does it? Yeah, I think it does.
Okay, thank you.
We built that in. I think it's reflected in the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Any other council members have questions for Mr. Thompson? No? Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Is the applicant here? If you'd like to come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Madam Mayor, members of council, good evening. Shane Lanham with Mahaffey Pickens Tucker LLP, 1550 North Brown Road, Suite 125 in Lawrenceville. Have the pleasure of representing Tomco Systems, long-standing corporate citizen in the city of Snellville. I think they acquired at least part of the original site, I think in 1971. I pulled some old deeds recently, prepared for tonight, and have owned that property for some time. And they have a great opportunity here to sort of round out the corner, finish, the intersection of these two roads and acquire that 2.7 acre property located there at the intersection. As Mr. Thompson mentioned, it's currently in Gwinnett County. And so in order to accommodate the proposed development of this one-story office building, we submitted for an annexation, land use plan amendment, and a rezoning. As Mr. Thompson indicated in his presentation, excuse me, we requested the land use plan be amended to the industrial zoning classification as to match the property to the south, and requested a rezoning likewise to an industrial zoning classification to match the facility to the south. However, we understand staff's position and planning commissions as well that if what's being proposed is an office use, then let's use office designations for that. We don't have any objections to that. And I believe when I looked through the draft ordinances, there was one available that reflected that. So a land use plan amendment to, I think it's OP, and then a rezoning to OP as well. We don't have objections there. We also don't have objections to the conditions that are reflected in that ordinance. I believe that reflects the Planning Commission's recommendation, which included a slight widening of this non-vehicular interparcel access. The idea there is, one, to have a sidewalk connection so folks can walk back and forth, but, the facility to the south has some substance to it, and it'd be nice to have, little golf carts or something people could go from the offices to the actual facility, and we feel like that would help with efficiency. So that's reflected in the ordinance. Would essentially say that, the original site design was sort of a typical, single-story office building in a suburban area. The idea, I think this was discussed in the work session to some degree, was in what we were trying to do from a design standpoint was acknowledge the residential uses to our north and pull that building as far away from the right-of-way as we could. And that's why the building design had the building in the rear with the majority of the parking in the front. At Planning Commission, there was more discussion relative to that, and one of the planning commissioners asked us if we could actually provide the building closer to the right-of-way of Brushy Fork Road and have the parking in the rear. We don't have objections to that. Candidly, we're happy to orient the building and the parking lot in however the city wants it to be. We did have some additional discussions with our engineer relative to, the ability to push the building up even further. So I think in OP, we've got a 10-foot front yard building setback. And so there were discussions about pushing the building all the way up to that 10-foot mark, so you have it right on the road. There was, from an engineering standpoint, I think there was a little concern in the design because I think the engineer liked the fact that there was a driveway going around the entire building. So in his mind, that provided good access for vehicles coming on site, and also, God forbid, emergency access. If emergency vehicles needed to access the site, they'd have convenient access to all four sides through interior driveways. But all that being said, we're happy to work with that building location. If council in its judgment would like it in a different place, we'd be more than happy to try and accommodate that as best we can, in accordance with the Snellville UDO. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions y'all may have, but would respectfully request approval of the annexation, the land use plan amendment to OP, and the rezoning to OP. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lanham. Does any council members have questions? I see Todd reaching for his button already.
Always. Good to see you again. Do you have any elevations on this structure? Because one of the concerns that I've heard from my constituents, and not all of them are city residents, is that they're concerned that it's going to just look like basically a long 7-Eleven, flat roof, and there was some questions from the community about possibly giving it a more residential look from the street so it would more fit into the surrounding neighborhood. I know one side is industrial and that's not really but.
Yes, sir. No, it's absolutely. At this stage, we haven't hired an architect to provide those architectural drawings, but that was something else that was discussed at Planning Commission about, was there, an ability to kind of have those residential architectural components. I don't think we would have any objections to that. I know that Tomco sees this property as its front door. I mean, this is the big welcome to Tomco kind of monument, right? That's very visible. It's what folks are going to see when they come to visit the site, and it's a very sort of outward facing, very, the site is visible just at its location at the intersection, and so it's in their interest to make sure it's an attractive building that I think they want to provide here on the site. So the short answer is we haven't designed it yet, but we'd be happy to incorporate certain design or architectural standards in addition to the UDO that we hear.
One further question. When looking at the site plan, I understand the desire to have the driveway all the way around it, and this is going to sound kind of crazy coming from me, but if we were able to have that building pushed closer to the road, not 15 feet, but back a little bit, that would give a little more property to, on this diagram that's up there, we're just going to go top is north and bottom is south, move that to the north some, that would open up some of that land that if Tomco in the future were to come back and need to maybe expand their facility into that property, that would reserve some of that. I know we're looking at probably OP tonight, but that would give them a little more future flexibility rather than if we put a drive there and lock them into that utilizes all that property as OP to the back, and I would like to give them room to grow if possible. Would they be amenable to that?
Yeah, I think at this time, I'm not aware of plans to expand that main manufacturing. But generally speaking, we're open to, we're flexible on the design. You can see the property's got it's an odd shaped property. It's, this kind of triangular piece. And so we've got some design flexibility to where we can, I think, accommodate a lot of those design requests and that input.
Yeah, I guess one of the big issues is every drawing that I've seen still has the 3 entrances, 2 off of Brushy Fork and 1 off of Rosebud. And if they were to lose that drive across the front, I wouldn't want them to, that would probably negate the entrance there across from Midway Road, which might not be a bad thing. So I just want to see if the applicant is okay with that.
With so as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm not articulating this the right way, but it seems like maybe the desire is for the building to be pushed up as close as possible to that 10-foot front yard building setback, and also eliminating that call it the northerly driveway. Is that a fair characterization?
Well, I'm not saying all the way to the 10-foot, maybe 15 or 20. Which opens up a little more property to the back of the, adjacent to the existing facility, because they've been there since '76. So they've been around longer than we have, and we certainly don't want them to go elsewhere 10 years from now when they find out, oh, we need to put another flux capacitor or whatever,
Yes, sir. No, it's your point is very well made, and just with the caveat that we'd have to get the engineer to look and make sure we meet all the standards of the UDO and things of that nature. I think to really respond to your question, I think we can achieve that. We've got some flexibility on the site, and I'm confident that we can get with the engineer, push that building up a little bit further, and make it work and operate and make it be something that looks good and is sustainable. So yes, I'm confident we can incorporate that feedback, and I think condition number 1, as it reads right now, references, I believe, the original site plan that was submitted with the application, which is the parking in the front. And so perhaps there would be a way, not to start horse trading here at the podium, but perhaps there may be a way to reference maybe this site plan with the parking in the rear, but then provide that final site plan approval by the director or something like that. That way there's a little bit closer eye on it. Perhaps without me trying to have to, you know, bootstrap engineer this thing tonight. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Lanham? Thank you, sir.
You have 10 minutes and 15 seconds remaining, Mr. Lanham. Thank you.
Should you need it. Okay, this is a public hearing item, and I will open the floor now to public comment. If anyone would like to speak for or against this annexation and rezoning, please step forward. Okay, I'm not seeing any movement whatsoever. So I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Could I ask some questions of Jason before?
Yes, you may.
and Chuck before?
Yes, you may.
Jason, any ideas how we can amend the conditions to A? Well, I know how to reference the site plan that we have up here by date, so I can figure that language out on the fly pretty well. Is a 20-foot setback appropriate, or is that going to be an issue? I know it's on the fly. I don't want to.
I think we should just maybe add something on the back end of condition one after you reference this one, that with flexibility to move the building forward as far as possible while still meeting UDO, ingress, egress, and access codes, basically, and just give us a little bit of
Yeah,
wiggle room.
I'm just worried. I think 10 feet would be too close. That'd
Yeah,
feel
let's
a
just say up to, close to, you just give
Okay.
me a little, and as long as it's not a substantial change from that deviation, we'll
Okay.
be okay. If it's anything that's,
Move. Okay, and then the other thing is, and I don't know if this is for you or for Chuck, putting in a condition to have it architecturally have features of residential construction rather than strictly commercial.
I think you can just add that condition. I mean,
Just
that's
say that.
kind of in the eye of the beholder.
Y'all seem to get a little more persnickety now than you used to, so. Okay, Christie will take care of all that, thanks.
That's number 8. It's condition 8.
8?
Just in case.
8? I only see 4 on mine.
You with the RZ?
No, I'm not looking at RZ. Oh my gosh.
The architectural would be 8, but the other one is 1. No.
There was only,
Give us just a moment. We're getting things straightened out.
2021-15. Yeah. They're not in order, but.
we did have Melissa, our steward clerk, was out. Plus, there's like 15 ordinances every time now, so they're, I think they're all there. We did miss the site plan.
If you'll just tell me which to add them to, and I'll.
It'll go on the rezoning, I know that.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but
Mhm.
And your ordinance reference is 2021-15.
Okay, that's what y'all are doing.
And you're adding condition 8,
Wait,
2021-15. And the RZ reference, hold on, I'm sorry. The RZ reference, RZ 21-04.
Can I go home yet?
No. And then
Extra
you want to
homework
add
for you.
condition 8 for your architectural.
You've lost me, Christie, I'm sorry.
Don't forget to reference the map too,
And the site. Okay.
with some variability in there. Sprinkle a little.
We'll work through it.
Okay.
Okay. With all of that discussion, we will first have a motion on the annexation. Is there a motion for, oh, now I lost my
Motion
Annex
to
21-01.
Motion to approve Annex 21-01 with reference to Ordinance 2021-14.
There's a motion to approve the annexation. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh.
With a motion and a second, I will ask for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor, so none opposed. The property will be annexed into the city. Next, we will have a motion for LUP 21-04.
Motion to approve LUP 21-04 with reference to Ordinance 2021-16.
There's a motion to approve the land use plan. Is there?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor and none opposed.
If you want to make the motion, then I'll add conditions.
That's what I was thinking.
It's on the rezoning.
It's already, the ordinance reference is office professional.
Right, we changed the LUP.
No.
No, the LUP is right. The only change we need to make is to the rezoning of condition 1 and then adding.
It's referenced in the ordinance as office professional. Yeah.
Because we started with that one.
Yeah.
Okay, now we will have a motion for the rezoning RZ 21-04.
Motion to approve RZ-21-04 with reference to Ordinance 2021-15 with the following conditions added.
Change condition 1 to reference the diagram dated 4-9-2021 and to move the building forward and move to reference the drawing dated 4-9-2021 and to move the proposed building forward to be no more than 20 feet from the Brushy Fork Road as approved by the Director of Planning and Development. Is that workable? Yeah, I think we kept him up past his bedtime. And then add condition 8, which is to the proposed office building shall have architectural design to give the appearance of residential structure. I'm sorry, I'm just, okay.
Condition 8 addition.
Y'all, okay, so
It's a complex one.
it is. It would be better if my packet were complete. Yeah, I know, I don't know how to work my computer. With the change to ordinance who knows?
2021-15.
Yeah, it's not on here. To change section 1 of the official zoning map for the city of Snellville, Georgia for the 2.704 plus or minus acre tract of land shown at the conceptual rezoning site plan entitled Tomco Office Building, Tomco 2 Office Building, sealed and dated 4/9/2021, stamped and received evidently 4/9/2021.
That's good.
That's
Yeah. Y'all are
Do
happy?
you want to add that you're architectural?
Well, that's number 8.
Okay.
I think I said that.
Did you
Yeah.
say, okay, sorry. I was just, never mind. Can we have a second?
Whatever it was, I'll second it.
So we have Councilmember Linsky made a motion to approve 2021-15 with change, with section 1 and condition 1 being changed for the site plan to be dated 4/9/2021, and then adding number 8, condition number 8. Is the applicant okay with the change in the conditions? Applicant has indicated his approval of the change in the conditions. So we have a motion. I need a second.
I already seconded it.
Oh, you already seconded.
He wasn't sure what it was.
He wasn't sure. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor and none opposed. Thank you. Okay, that ends our public hearing. This council is not used to being here till 10 o'clock. It's bringing back old memories for me, but we have nothing on our consent agenda, no old business. One item of new business, item A, was consideration and action on approval of Gwinnett County water metering device and access easement for the library and business building. This was something for the DDA to take action on, and the city council does not need to take action. Do we need to do? So we will disregard new business item A and move to council reports. Councilmember DeStang.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to share with you that I absolutely enjoyed the Snellville Citizen Police Academy alongside Councilwoman Lansky. I learned so much since we started. This academy allows me to learn what the law enforcement officers go through on a daily basis, not to mention the split-second decision that they have to make. I thank every law enforcement officer for what they do, and I will continue to pray for your safety always. I also want to invite you to the South Gwinnett High School Spring Band Showcase, which will be held this Friday, April 30th, from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Tickets are $10 each and can be obtained online at southgwinnettband.com. Come out and support our students. Thank you for coming out tonight. Have a safe drive home, and see you next time. Good night.
Thank you, Solange. Councilmember Warner.
Well, since Solange kept hers nice and short, I will try to do the same. Thank you, everybody who came out tonight, even those who were lucky enough to leave already. As is usual in our second meeting of the month, in our work session, I made my monthly donation to Let 'Em Eat, and Hank Reed, his group, does a great job of feeding those who are in need and are experiencing crisis in their families. So I would call on all my fellow council members and all of y'all who were here to join me in that and supporting this group and making sure Let 'Em Eat is able to reach the people here in the county that need the help. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Councilmember Linsky.
South Gwinnett High School soccer is ranked number 2 in the state of Georgia. We are moving on to round 2 of the playoffs tomorrow night. We will be hosting it right here in Snellville at our stadium, 6:30 p.m. Please come out and support our Comets all the way to the championship.
Thank you, Christy. Councilmember Schultz.
I have a photo I just want to show you very quickly. I'll keep my comments short tonight. I want you to see what our greenhouse team has been doing. Do we have that photo, Brian? Okay. These folks, you see all the plants that they have for sale at the farmer's market. These folks have worked all winter long raising all these vegetable, herb, and flower plants, and you can see the number of tables they have covered with plants. They sell them for $2 for a 4-pack or $2 for one larger plant. And so far, they've been to 3 farmers markets. They're at the greenhouse every morning this week from 10 a.m. to noon for people to come by to buy plants. They have raised approximately $3,000 with their plant sales. These folks have just worked so hard, and this is the main way we provide funding for the garden. So my hat is off to all of these gardeners that have worked so hard for our garden. Thank you.
Thank you, Gretchen. Mayor Pro Tem Emanuel.
In the interest of brevity, I will win the short comment contest and say thank you for attending. Good night.
Thank you, Dave. And thank you to those who made it to the very end tonight. I know this was a long meeting for us. We haven't had one this long in a while with all these public hearings. And I appreciate the citizens who came out and attended tonight. It's always great to see people here, and hopefully, I know we had a late start, and again, I apologize for that. But we had some discussion that had to take place before our meeting started tonight, and so we try to start our meetings in a timely manner. But thank you all. As you can see, the development next door is going gangbusters, and we're looking forward to seeing some building happen in the next couple of months. So thank you all. So that'll end my comments, and I will open the floor to public comment. If anyone would like to make a comment, please step forward. Give your name and address for the record. I'm not seeing anyone racing to the podium, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. It's a motion and a second. All in favor? That's 6-0. We're done. Thank you all again for coming out.